Get on the ground before I put you there permanently. That's what the man in the ski mask yelled as he swept a rifle across the dining room at Marigold House, and 30 people dropped so fast their silverware kept rattling on the marble. But I didn't. I stood there in a pressed black uniform with a name tag that still smelled like polish, and I looked him in the eye and said soft enough to make him lean in no. And for a split second, the whole world held its breath. I didn't wake up planning to be the only person standing in a room full of money and fear. I was just a black waitress in Chicago, trying to make rent and mind my business, the kind of person people look through until they need something. You know what I mean? But 8 years in Navy Special Warfare leaves you with habits you can't turn off, like counting exits without thinking and hearing a lie. By the way, a voice lands on the last word. The night had started like 100 others. Pinstripe suit at table 16, sending back a bottle he'd bragged about ordering his date. Admiring her diamonds, more than the view my manager Brent, hovering with that thin smile that says he's already writing the email about whatever he's going to accuse you of. And somewhere in that noise I caught a different kind of attention from a man in a Navy suit who wasn't trying to be seen, Ethan Hale, the tech billionaire. People write articles about watching me not like a problem to fix, but like a pattern to read. Then the front doors blew open, 5 men in masks, commands barked like they'd practiced in an empty room, and every instinct I had lined up without asking permission. Feet set, breath low, distances measured tank, the big one, 8 feet. The jumpy shooter left 12, driver back by the doors, a long 20, and the leader closing on me with a barrel that wavered just a hair when he recognized my voice. Yeah, that happened. You don't forget the kids. You grew up around, even when life puts a mask between you. He used to be Malik, we called him Reaper, because names get sticky when you're trying not to die young. I moved first hand to the big guy's throat, barrel up to crack crystal instead of bone roll, elbow, snap 3 down, without killing anyone. Because restraint is a choice, not a weakness. And when I went for the 4th, Malik said, "Quiche, stop. Only people who loved me or used to ever called me that." So I froze just enough for the driver to aim at Mr. Pinstripe crawling toward the exit. And I ate the moment I wanted, so I didn't get a stranger killed. Malik backed his crew out, eyes never leaving mine, and left me with a warning I didn't understand yet. When this gets out, be careful who you trust with the answers. Then the sirens got close and the silence inside got loud, and people who'd been shaking a minute ago found their voices and turned them on me. You'd think that's when the thanks come, right? The shaky hugs, the "we're alive" cheers. But fear is a lazy storyteller. It fills the gaps with monsters that look like whoever scared it last. Brent pointed at me, like he'd discovered a fire, and I was the match. The hedge fund guy straightened his suit and said, "I was dangerous." His date nodded like a metronome, and Sergeant Elena Ruiz walked in, clocked the breathing, clocked the stance, and asked for my name. Keisha Monroe, Navy Special Warfare, 8 years, and I told her what I'd done without theater, because the truth doesn't need volume. But before the paperwork even started, Brent told me to turn in my apron liability. He said like the word could erase what everybody had just seen. Outside in the cold, the air felt honest again. That's where Ethan found me and asked if I was all right, and I said, "Want the polite version or the real one, because sometimes that's the only choice you get." And he picked the real one, which would matter later. Then his phone buzzed and the color left his face. While we were under the gun at dinner, someone had disabled his home alarm from the inside and spent almost 3 hours going through his office personal files, financials, security protocols, nothing stolen, everything learned. And just like that, the robbery stopped being random and turned into a timeline with a second hand. We went to his place, too many windows, too many entry points for a man who gets hate mail with a return address, and his head of security. Marla met us with a tablet and tight jaw. 12 people had the codes. He named 11, and then looked at me when she said the 12th would be mine by morning. Like whoever orchestrated this already knew he'd ask for my help, which, sent a chill through the room. And then Elena called. They had Malik in a box, and he wanted to talk to me. Not to a detective, not to a lawyer, to me, so I went. He looked older without the mask, like life had been heavier than the gun, and he said what I halfway expected and fully hated. They'd been hired $5 million to make Ethan's death look like a robbery that got loud. Brent was the intermediary, the pinstripe hedge fund king was named Colin Mercer, and the woman with the diamonds was Ophelia Grant. There'd been a penthouse meeting 6 months ago, where my name was mentioned, like a variable in their math. And the only reason Malik hadn't finished the job at Marigold House was because he remembered a promise to his brother and a summer that didn't end in blood, because I'd been there to stop it. You know what I mean? How old debts can keep people human. Back at the safe house, we had to pick a lane. Trust the process and watch it crawl or run our own play while staying just inside the lines. Ethan asked what I needed, and I told him autonomy and absolute compliance. Once I called a decision, he nodded, which sounds simple until it's not, and we started with a test he called his assistant. Nina told her he'd be at the office at 9 for a sensitive deal, and asked her to prep if she was clean. Nothing would happen if she wasn't well. 20 minutes later, Elena's team saw movement on floors that should have been empty. Same time, the bomb squad neutralized a device under a car in Ethan's hotel garage. Same time, Nina turned up unconscious at his desk with a transfer screen open, and nobody could tell if she was stealing or being used as a puppet, until the talk screen later said she'd been drugged. While we're juggling that, Marla's past pops in like a ghost. She'd worked for Falcon Ridge, a private firm owned by Colin, and my hand went to my hip out of simple muscle memory. She raised hers and told the truth I could feel in my teeth. They didn't just guard, they collected blackmail and illegal surveillance. She'd quit when the threat spread to her sister. And I believed her. But belief is cheap without proof, so I asked her to make a call she didn't want to make. She told Colin Ethan would be at a fake safe house in Brookline with minimal security. He bought it for $2 million, and the clock started ticking for real. Then a text slid across Marla's screen. We have Nina trade Hale for the girl classic leverage classic trap. And Ethan actually moved like he'd go alone, because decent men think dying for someone is the same as saving them. And I blocked the door with one palm and told him flat, you go. You die. We don't feed this thing. We starve it. And I messaged a new location, public cameras, the Union Center food court at night, fluorescent and echoey with security guards who don't ask questions if you look like you belong. 30 minutes later, Colin and Ophelia walked in with a third man who moved like he'd earned that posture, and they sat down like they owned time. Where's Hale? Where's Nina? Those were the lines. And in the little dance that followed, they said the quiet part out loud. Ethan's politics were wrong, his friends were wrong, his company would be better off under people who understood what America should look like. And that's when the ideology part shows its face, murder dressed up like management. Elena's whisper in my ear said the bomb was cold, and units were at Pier 19 for Nina, and I offered Colin a door he couldn't imagine. Walk away now and disappear. Then I offered the second. I'd take you down in front of federal agents you didn't see coming. He laughed the way men laugh when they've only ever been told. Yes, the third man reached. I reached faster, snapped Colin's wrist against the table, and put a knife at Ophelia's neck, just hard enough to improve her memory. Don't, I told the third man, I can take both before you clear leather, and he believed me because trained eyes recognize trained hands. Agents poured in cuffs, clicked. Ophelia cracked and gave us Nina's exact location. Elena's team brought her out alive, and the story that started as a robbery ended with names, accounts, shell companies. Falcon Ridge burned down to the paperwork, yeah, that happened. And it didn't fix everything, but it made the next right thing possible. 5 weeks later, I walked into Ethan's holiday party and took a breath that didn't taste like defense. The doctor who'd called me a vigilante apologized with both hands. The sommelier who watched me get fired found courage on the second try. Brent's lawyer sent a letter that said, "Liability in 6 creative ways," and I said thank you to what deserved it, and nothing at all to what didn't. Then I told Ethan what I wanted to build. A security division that protects good people and hires the folks nobody trusts. Until the night everything goes sideways, Marla running ops, Malik working re-entry and street intel. Once the judge saw the man pass the file youth from our neighborhoods, trained into badges that mean more than power, they mean responsibility. And Ethan didn't make a speech, he just asked, "How soon can we start?" And we did. 6 months after sentencing, Colin and Ophelia were wearing numbers. Brent was testifying to save himself. Nina told the whole messy truth and went to start over, and our team had stopped 4 more plots and placed 60-plus people in real jobs, not pity, not charity work that makes families breathe easier. I still hear the argument that I should have stayed down like everyone else, that nobody consented to me acting. And here's where I land. Nobody in a burning building consents to the person who kicks the door open. Either we take the help and argue about the method after, right? And if the person who kicks the door looks like somebody you were taught to fear, maybe the work is asking why the face bothers you more than the fire. A clip leaked last week from another city. A server tried to disarm a guy the wrong way, and someone got hurt, not dead, thank God. And my name bounced around like a ball. People threw at each other. Hero, reckless, inspiration, threat. And I'll tell you what I tell my team, there's a difference between wanting to be a hero and being trained to carry a room without breaking it, between impulse and discipline, between fear and respect. And if you don't know the difference yet, maybe speak softer while someone else is doing the hard part. I'm Keisha. I was a waitress. I am a protector. I'm building something that doesn't need me to be in every room for people to get home safe. And I'm not asking you to agree with everything I did. I'm asking you to look at the whole night and ask yourself what you would want from the one person standing when you can't get off the floor. Now it's your turn. Was I right to act, or should I have stayed down? Does competence comfort you or scare you when it shows up in a body you didn't expect? Have you seen a hero turned into a suspect in minutes? What does justice look like when the nicest suits are writing the rules? Drop your take in the comments. Be honest, be specific, and be safe.